Hello, my name is Martin Delahunty and I am an independent publishing consultant. My short presentation today, titled Open Peer Review, Too Much of a Leap of Faith, will provide a broad overview of the current status of peer review for academic research journals. This is my conflict of interest statement. I'm the director owner of Inspiring STEM Consulting Limited. All client names are on our website and we may be subject to clients' non-disclosure agreements. Inspiring STEM Consulting has worked recently with a number of clients to research the open peer review market for scholarly scientific journals. Specifically, I've been looking at whether open peer review is a sustainable and scalable model, and to also consider the practical issues. Amongst scientific publications, it is still very clear that open peer review, although embedded in the open science DNA, remains an emerging, evolving practice, and especially when associated with the publication of referee reports. Academic journal peer review is in a state of war against multiple challenges, for example, predatory journals. At the heart of these battles is a fight for greater and more robust research integrity. And transparency and openness of peer review lies at the heart of the solution. We are now also witnessing the dramatic evolution of a publishing ecosystem with data and not the article at its epicenter. With this comes the challenge of peer reviewing data and ensuring the interoperability of new software systems with which to validate, store, and share data. Scholarly peer review is the process of subjecting an author's scholarly work, research, or ideas to the scrutiny of others who are experts in the same field. There are 6 forms of peer review. While there are indications that more transparent forms of peer review are gaining acceptance, the single-blind and double-blind peer review processes still dominate. What is generally defined as open peer review takes the form of open identities, where reviewers' names are disclosed. On acceptance and publication of the paper, the associated referee report may or may not also be published. In 2017, a cross-disciplinary survey on open peer review, as part of the Open Air 2020 project, reported on attitudes and experiences amongst editors, authors, and reviewers. The results showed that 60% of respondents believe that open peer review, as a general concept, should be mainstream scholarly practice. But attitudes to individual traits varied, and open identities were not generally favoured. This compares well to the 2016 Publishing Research Consortium peer review study, which reported that 59% of authors favoured open reports, but only 31% open identities. With both surveys, and despite the clear benefits, the underlying fear is that open identities could cause reviewers to weaken their criticisms or could lead to a retaliation from authors. What is encouraging is that Open Air reported high levels of experience, with 76% participating in open peer review, either as an author, reviewer, or editor. Additionally, there were high levels of support for open reports and final version commenting, but again, respondents were against opening reviewer identities to authors, 50% believing it would make peer review worse. So there's a gulf between attitudes and practice, evident also from the recent and very excellent report, Global State of Peer Review, published by Publons and Clarivate Analytics, which found that currently less than 2% of scientific journals, including AMEE's MedEd Publish, allow the publication of referee reports. But amongst these 2% of journals are some prestigious titles, including the BMJ, Nature Communications, and F1000 Research. Another key finding of the Publons report are the striking differences across age groups. 40% of under 26-year-olds likely or highly likely to review for journals that make author and reviewer identities and reviewer reports public, compared with only 22% for those aged 56 to 65. So we can make a fair assumption that at least the appetite for open peer review will increase over the next generation. Overall, the task for finding reviewers for a journal is projected to only get harder across all scientific disciplines, due to the following factors: a 6% compound annual growth in journal article submissions, now over 2 peer-reviewed invitations needed compared to less than 2 invitations back in 2013 for every completed peer review report, the fact that 40% of reviewers only become reviewers after publishing their first paper, and finally the continued low prevalence of open peer review and the conservative attitudes of authors and reviewers. The potential benefits of publishing referee reports seem obvious. We know the vast majority of scientists think that peer review is essential for vetting research papers, and that the process of peer review gives authors constructive feedback, offers editors insight, and ensures readers of the trustworthiness of research. However, the problem remains that generally only editors, authors, and sometimes reviewers see referee reports. This enables several forms of abuse. Referees might be superficial, rude, or biased. Authors might respond inadequately to reasonable criticism. Authors might not hold authors or reviewers to account. And predatory publishers can charge fees without providing quality review. Studies of published peer reviews are small, making effects hard to ascertain. Nonetheless, evidence so far suggests that the scientific community finds published reports valuable. A pilot by the publisher Elsevier found that 1/3 of its website visitors accessed peer review reports, and several editors said that they used published reports as instructive examples for inexperienced reviewers. Also, editors at the European Journal of Neuroscience, which launched transparent review at the end of 2016, report that referees are writing better reviews and returning them more promptly. Some disciplines are more keen than others. Nature Communications found that, given a choice, authors and reviewers of more than 70% of its evolution and ecology submissions opted for published reports. The figure was much less than 50% for submissions in atomic particle and theoretical physics. One concern is that even if public reviews are anonymous, they might make the reviewers reluctant to accept assignments or to criticize freely, because authors could resent criticism and retaliate against the presumed reviewers. Overall, open peer review remains an evolving phenomenon that requires continued monitoring through surveys. But it feels very much right now that despite experimentation and a few publishers and journals dipping toes in chilly waters and running pilot programs, the revolution is yet to happen. So where might the real push come from? Well, as with open access publication, I believe that once the science funders are on board, the majority begin to not just listen intently, but to make plans for real implementation. So in this respect, the recent announcements recommending publishing referee reports by the Wellcome Trust, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, and ASAP Bio, which is a non-profit organization encouraging innovation in life sciences publishing, demand attention. Let's see whether these recommendations transition to mandates. Or is it simply that despite all the positive noises, open peer review is still just too much a leap of faith? Thank you for your attention, and I welcome questions and comments.